I said if you had called me, I could have schooled you on what was expected.
And when we did have that conversation, and what I said to you, my sweet sister, I said, Whoopi, at what point do we stop saying the next time? When I have a woman that says to me on national TV, I could have schooled you. Well, you wanted to school me on how I was supposed to work for free. I simply don't want that type of education. We got labeled as difficult because I said one word, and that was no. Now, I said no to some very powerful people. I said no to Oprah Winfrey. I said no to Tyler Perry. I said no to Lee Daniels. And I said no to Lionsgate.
Monique has been blackballed by the industry ever since she decided to speak against Oprah, but it seems like she might be getting her vindication now. Let's not forget that Monique didn't just stop at exposing Oprah. She also called out others in the industry who sided with Oprah and threw her under the bus, including Whoopi Goldberg and Steve Harvey. And you won't believe what she has to say about them. This Oprah talk started once again when Taraji decided to expose her when she revealed that she almost walked away from the new Oprah-produced adaptation of The Color Purple. This time, everyone was on Taraji's side, but when Monique decided to speak up back in the day, she was done dirty. People labeled her as bitter and angry and didn't believe what she had to say. Taraji spilled the tea, revealing she nearly walked away from the Color Purple remake because they tried to lowball her. Now, Oprah isn't the one writing the paychecks for the actors, but given her massive influence, you'd expect her to flex it a bit to help Taraji secure a better deal. Now, you'd think Taraji, with over 2 decades in the game, wouldn't have to fight tooth and nail for a decent paycheck, especially with Oprah in the mix. But surprise, surprise, the first offer thrown Taraji's way was nothing short of disrespectful. They were playing hardball until she laid down the law and threatened to walk away.
And I heard on the street, Taraji, you had the audacity to say you're thinking about stopping acting. We said, stop talking. Are you thinking about it?
I'm just tired of working so hard, being gracious at what I do, getting paid a fraction of the cost. I'm tired of hearing my sisters say the same thing over and over. You get tired. I hear people go, you work a lot. Well, have to. The math ain't mathin'.
In a heart-to-heart with Oprah's BFF Gayle King, Taraji didn't mince words. She spilled the tea on how she's so done with this constant battle for fair pay that she's seriously contemplating leaving the acting scene for good. The realness hit hard when she revealed that Black actresses, even pros like herself, are still grinding for fair pay on every new project.
The fact that we're up, there's a whole entire team behind us. They have to get paid. So when you hear someone saying, oh, such and such made $10 million, no, that's not, that didn't make it to their account. Know that off the top, Uncle Sam is getting 50%. That's right. Okay? So do the math. Now we have $5 million. Your team is getting 30% or whatever your team is off of what you grossed, not more. After what Uncle Sam took. Now do the math. So I'm only human, and it seems every time I do something and I break another glass ceiling, when it's time to renegotiate, I'm at the bottom again, like I never did what I just did, and I'm just tired. I'm tired.
Taraji didn't name drop, but threw some subtle shade, Oprah style. It's like a quiet call out, with Taj hinting that influential women should have each other's backs, especially in the paycheck game. She didn't spill the big O's name, but the tea she's serving has us all reading between the lines.
We are to service each other. God is very clever. He put us on this earth and he made us all look different. He made it complicated. We need to figure it out. And we can, and we are. You have to look at the glass as half full. It's always half full.
The plot thickens when you realize this isn't Oprah's first rodeo with criticism of this kind. Almost 15 years ago, well before Taraji stepped up, Monique publicly exposed Oprah for trying to lowball her too. And the fans were quick to connect the dots. One said, Oprah is far from broke, and you mean to tell me Taraji and Fantasia almost walked away because of them being lowballed? Monique tried to tell us, and folk called her crazy. And, reading between the lines, Oprah and co. don't pay Black actors. One fan wrote, Oprah being the common villain between Monique's saga of being blackballed after asking for her worth and Taraji crying on this press tour for not being paid enough is really something. For a billionaire who started out being discriminated against, it's wild. Monique took a hit from fellow industry people, especially loud critics like Whoopi Goldberg and Steve Harvey. They joined the choir, calling her difficult to work with. Take a trip down memory lane to 2009, where we witnessed the Monique episode unfold. She boldly declared that Oprah blacklisted her simply because she dared to ask for payment for a press tour related to the film Precious. Now, Precious was a big deal, backed by heavyweights like Oprah, Tyler Perry, and directed by Lee Daniels. But when Monique said no to an unpaid overseas press tour, things took a dramatic turn. Suddenly, she got slapped with the difficult label in the media. In Hollywood, especially for Black women, being tagged as difficult can seriously mess with your career. Now, here comes Lee Daniels, throwing a not-so-subtle warning. He dropped hints about the fallout Monique might face if she had the audacity to turn down Oprah, making it clear that it wouldn't end well for her. And in the blink of an eye, the media machine cranked into high gear. Stories started swirling about Monique being a tough cookie and a hassle to collaborate with, but Monique wasn't backing down. She refused to let them shut her up. In her stand against this whole silence game, Monique straight up exposed Whoopi and Steve. She called them out as Oprah's sidekicks who only care about themselves, even though they love to preach about community love in public. She took the stage to expose not only Oprah, but also threw shade at Whoopi Goldberg and Steve Harvey, hinting that they might be Oprah's loyal lapdogs. The moment went down on The View when Monique spilled the tea about how she had fulfilled all her contractual obligations for Precious. But Oprah and Tyler Perry had the audacity to ask her to do more work without pay. Enter Whoopi, all condescending vibes, insisting that Monique should have hopped on that overseas tour because, according to her, it's just part of the job.
My deal was with a man named Lee Daniels. I did all of my contractual obligations and I was done. Then when I start getting calls from Lee Daniels, Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey, and Lionsgate, and they wanted me to come work for free. They wanted me to go over to Cannes and promote this film internationally. And I said to them, I said, guys, my deal is with Lee Daniels, and I've done my job. And they all agreed. And this is what happens, in my humble opinion, when you don't go up to the hotel room. See, when I think about those women that said...
I'm gonna stop you.
Okay.
I'm gonna stop you.
Okay.
Because contractually,
Yes.
when you make a movie, regardless of who you signed the deal with,
Yes.
your job is to go and promote said movie.
Early on, Monique had a clear understanding of her job, and she delivered what she was compensated for. But then, Whoopi took it up a notch, suggesting that she could have schooled Monique on how to handle her responsibilities.
And I said, if you had called me, I could have schooled you on what was expected.
And when we did have that conversation, and what I said to you, my sweet sister, I said, Whoopi, at what point do we stop saying the next time? Because what was expected.
Wait,
but I want to answer it though.
Yeah.
I want to answer when you say
You wanted
contractual.
to get paid for the publicity.
Please let me answer. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. Because if I had done something wrong contractually, they would have sued me. The reason why no one could do anything to me contractually, because they found out I did nothing wrong contractually. So when they asked me to come overseas to promote the film, when I said, guys, I'm spending time with my family, I'm gonna pass.
The term schooled didn't sit well with Monique, not one bit. In a later interview, she took it a step further and talked about what Whoopi said. She said, when I sat there on that platform on The View, I felt sorry. I had empathy for my sister Whoopi Goldberg because what you're saying to me is, you must work for free. I could have schooled you. The very thing I went to The View to speak about was the very thing I experienced on The View. She then continued, when I look at this woman you say is our icon and our legend, she is. But how many things has Whoopi Goldberg executive produced? Whoopi Goldberg has always been the help, and I say that humbly. So, what is it that you're going to school me on? I've been doing it for almost 30 years. Yet again, the media and Monique's peers jumped in, criticizing her and pushing for an apology to Whoopi. However, Monique wasn't swayed. She stood her ground, unapologetic. In her defense, she later clarified that she referred to Whoopi as the help because Whoopi tried to shame her on national TV, all because she dared to ask to get paid for her job.
When I said Whoopi Goldberg was the help, let me tell you what I meant by that. When I have a woman that says to me on national TV, I could have schooled you. Well, you wanted to school me on how I was supposed to work for free. I simply don't want that type of education. That's the education you're fine with. That's not the education I want, and that's not the education I want to pass down to my little sisters, saying, you just gotta do it. Let me school you. If they're not paying you, baby, That's called slavery.
But the gaslighting wasn't just coming from Whoopi. Another player in the game was Oprah's close buddy, Steve Harvey. In private, Steve initially agreed with Monique, but when he hit the airwaves, he criticized her for burning bridges. Now, Steve's no stranger to controversy, and there's a history of him allegedly throwing colleagues under the bus. For instance, Bernie Mac claimed Steve tried to swipe his role in Ocean's 11, going behind his back to convince the studio to give the part to him. Monique, too, found herself on the receiving end of Steve's betrayal. She publicly called him out, labeling him a coward. Steve tried to do some damage control by inviting Monique to his show, attempting to school her just like Whoopi did. But Monique was point. She cared about the principle of the situation, but Steve only cared about the fame and success, and how you have to keep some things to yourself if you want to get ahead in the game. But Monique wasn't going to sacrifice her principles for a paycheck.
When you tell the truth, you have to deal with the truth. Listen to me.
Now, for years in a row, people have been assuming that Whoopi and Oprah were in some type of feud. But turns out that wasn't the case. So it probably wasn't all in Monique's head.
Whoopi came up, can I share this? Whoopi came up to me and she said, can I just ask you something? Really? She said, can I just ask you something? Did I do something to you? And I said, what are you talking about? She says, all these years, you know, we've been disconnected, and I just want to know, did I do something? I said, all these years, I thought you were mad at me. All these years, I thought that you thought, I don't know what I thought.
It's crazy.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
So I thought, you think I'm mad at you?
Yeah.
I thought you were mad at me.
So crazy.
Was that crazy? So what was that?
Who knows?
Yeah.
You know, who knows? You know, I don't know if it happens to you, but oftentimes people say to me, if there's somebody black in Hollywood, they say, do you know so-and-so?
Yeah.
Do you hang out?
Yeah.
And I say, no, you know,
All
you
black
don't,
people
yeah,
don't know
we
each
all don't. You know,
Yeah.
forget about looking alike, we don't all hang out.
Yeah.
And I think that people, for some reason, took it the wrong way.
Yeah.
You know, and then, you know.
So you weren't mad at me? 'Cause
No,
people
I had
come
no
to me and
reason.
say, you hear what Whoopi said? Whoopi said this. Or
Child,
Whoopi
you know what? Whoopi don't say much of anything.
Monique is still waiting for an apology from everyone who did her wrong, especially Oprah.
Until that woman says, let me apologize to you publicly, it'll be to the day I leave this earth. Because what you did was malicious, and it was intentional, and it was ugly.
If Oprah was watching this, what would you tell her?
I would say, Oprah Winfrey, you know what you need to do, and stop hiding behind what you call was negative comments, what you call, oh, I don't even deal with things like that, because what people are beginning to do is see you for who you are.
In 2008, Monique spilled some real talk in an Essence interview, sharing a tough part of her life, her brother assaulting her between ages 7 and 11. Fast forward post Precious, and Oprah and Monique's friendship hit the rocks. Oprah took a controversial turn, putting Monique's deeply personal story on blast. She invited Monique's abusive brother Gerald to her show without a heads up, a major breach of trust.
And that is, I did assault and inappropriately touch my sister in manners that were not comfortable for her. And for that, I apologize, and I'm humbly sorry.
Some may think that you're only doing this to get into the good graces of your sister now because she has an Academy Award.
Now, I'm doing this to apologize to my sister, to hopefully bring back some family unity.
Even though Monique said no, Oprah pushed for her to join the episode with Gerald. Monique stuck to her guns, feeling manipulated and betrayed.
I began to see commercials with my brother, my mother, my father, and my other brother. I shared with her, we were in a really bad place. I shared with her, I was hurt. And, you know, trying to figure this thing out. She never said my mother was coming on that show, because had Oprah Winfrey said, I'm gonna have your mother, I would have said, shut it down. I don't need the world seeing how greedy my mother is. Shut that down. That's one of the reasons why we don't communicate, because of my mother and father's greed. So if you had given me the opportunity, I would have said, I can't put my mother, that's still my mother.
Right.
Okay? Now here comes this show. And here comes the commercials. And now I'm starting to see my mother and my father and my other brother, who was my manager. We didn't discuss that, Oprah.
When he was your manager and he went to Oprah?
Wasn't my manager time.
Oh.
By now I had already fired him. So I'm watching this show, and I'm watching my father sit there, who was a strong alcoholic. I'm watching him drunk. I'm watching my mother be greedy. I'm watching my other brother, who was my manager, be greedy. I know my family. And I'm watching my brother who molested me sit on this stage, trying to paint this picture of I'm trying to be a help, but now I'm watching the scam. As much as they keep talking, I'm seeing the scam take place.
Oprah said she'd cancel the episode if Monique disagreed, but when it aired, it featured Gerald and her parents. Hurt, Monique tried to reach out, but Oprah shut down any conversation. Despite a lukewarm apology at a Hollywood event, Monique's been waiting over a decade for a public apology from Oprah. Fans don't think she's ever getting it. Monique just dropped the mic on Whoopi Goldberg, calling her out for supposedly cozying up to Oprah. Monique spilled the tea on how she had to fight for her worth back in the day, not just on screen, but also behind the scenes. Between Oprah, Whoopi, and everyone else involved, we don't think Monique is ever getting the vindication she deserves. Do you agree?